How was the rally last night? Were you at the Trump rally?
Yeah, it was fun. They always are. I don't think people really realize how not only substantive the president is, but entertaining. I mean, he's just funny. I had the real privilege of, I was down in Florida with celebrating Easter with my children and grandchildren, and I had the privilege of driving or flying up to first Michigan and then to Green Bay with the president. So I wish every American had that experience, just spend that amount of time. First of all, probably talking to him for about an hour on substantive issues, then sitting back and listening to him interact with his staff on a host of issues, how engaged he is, how competent he is. It'd be a huge contrast with, for example, President Biden. So, no, I had a blast. The rally was great. Quite honestly, the roundtable with law enforcement in Michigan, you really get the sense of how much law enforcement respects President Trump and how much they want him back in office.
Yeah, no question there. Real quick about how engaged he is, because we're told that he's totally disconnected from reality and from his advisors and never listens to anyone, et cetera, et cetera. Can you give me an example of what you saw with his staff and team?
Well, again, I'm probably a pest because I have a host of issues I want to talk to him about. And, so we just covered things, up and down. Really, from my standpoint, the substantive things, the spend, the border. I showed him our border chart, which he loved. He took and made some changes right in the plane and used it that day. I think that chart went up on Handy. I think people were starting to tweet that chart. So I've been producing this chart since 2012. President Trump takes it, makes a couple of tweets or tweaks to it, and the thing goes viral. So God bless him. So he used that border chart. Again, he has almost an instantaneous grasp of things. People really don't understand really how smart President Trump is and how flexible his mind is.
What do you mean flexible his mind is? That's an interesting sentence. What do you mean?
Pardon?
You said how flexible his mind is? What do you mean by that?
He's intelligent. I don't. Again, somebody with a flexible mind, from my standpoint, can listen to people and can change their views, can process the information and modify what they think about things. I think that's what you want in people. Now, you also want people grounded in principles, and obviously President Trump has his as well. But I think people, you sometimes hear, he'll react to the last person in the room, which can, again, if you have no principles, that could be a bad thing, but it can also be a pretty good thing when you realize that you want to be able to be flexible and you want to be able to, with new information, change your viewpoint on things.
Yeah. Let me give you the NBC News Meet the Press Rona McDaniel treatment, if you don't mind. You said you went to his rally, you enjoyed it, you said he was funny. Okay, so let me do my best. Whoever the Meet the Press woman is, how dare you? How can you look yourself in the mirror and go to one of his rallies, Senator Johnson, and laugh in the face of his tyrannical authoritarian impulses that he spoke up there from that podium? How dare you?
I would say, how can you as a member of the news media not understand that what is threatening our democracy is the way that President Biden and his radical leftists in his administration and in Congress are utilizing the full force and power of the federal government, weaponizing it against not only every American, but in particular one man, President Trump. I mean, it is grotesque what this administration is doing, and unfortunately, it's even more grotesque the way that the mainstream media is sitting by and letting him do without criticism whatsoever, because they so loathe President Trump. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they would literally sit down and talk to him and get to know him, I've told people, if you spend some time with President Trump, you cannot not like him.
That's always been true. I mean, it's been true for 40 years.
You may not agree with his views, but he's a likable guy. He's a funny guy. He's a smart guy. He's an engaging guy. I wish more Americans could really understand that about him.
Yeah, they've always loved him. he was the most popular guy in the country. He's a #1 TV show. Like, everyone's always loved him. Here's the New York Times. Trump again. This is about the rally last night, the one you were at, Senator, the one that you dare show your face at. Trump again invokes bloodbath and dehumanizes migrants in border remarks. So he doubled down on the bloodbath. Of course, we're all caught up in what he meant last time with the auto industry, and he acknowledged that. He's like, yeah, these guys, took me out of context last time, but I'm going to stick with it. This is a bloodbath with the border. It's Biden's border bloodbath. Do you stand by that rhetoric, sir?
Well, I was on the floor of the Senate offering an amendment to defund sanctuary cities, basically, and I just ran down the litany of horrific crimes. Murders and rapes, murders of a 2-year-old child. That's a bloodbath, okay? And the people that commit those crimes, that rape young women, they are animals, is what President Trump said, and I'm not going to criticize him for that. I mean, anybody who would do that to another human being, that's not a human being.
Remember when he was president, he was talking about MS-13 gang members, and he called them animals, and then Nancy Pelosi did this whole spark of divinity nonsense. How dare he speak of MS-13 gang members like that? So I got a bunch of other Wisconsin questions in particular, but what's next with you and Trump? You're going to see him again? Where are you going to bump into each other again?
Well, I don't know. It is so important to defeat Biden that I will do whatever I can here in Wisconsin to help him win. And, I think the formula for winning Wisconsin is pretty basic. You just see an incredibly strong ground game. The Democrats, and this is true, I think, really in so many states, Democrat voters are concentrated in the big cities, these dystopian, dysfunctioning Democrat-controlled big cities. But it's a lot easier to mine votes there. It's a lot easier to manufacture votes, right? Republicans, we've got to, we don't cheat, and what we need to do is we need to go get votes from every small little town throughout these states, and some of these states are vast, and it's a much more difficult task. So if you want to win in Wisconsin, first of all, you've got to have the enthusiasm that Trump obviously has. I mean, he is a unique political figure. I mean, show me another political figure that could do this consistently over how many years now? It's 8 years, basically, right? Yeah. Where he shows up and tens of thousands of people show up, and they have a great time, and they're shouting out from the audience, "We love you." But, I love attending the rallies. I get to speak for 5 minutes. I don't get to speak to large crowds like that very often, unless it's a Trump rally. It's fun to do, but it's fun to participate in those things. So again, Trump has the enthusiasm here in Wisconsin. We've just got to get out the vote. We've got to work really hard.
You're telling me at a Ron Johnson rally, there's not people screaming from the floor seats, "We love you, Ron! We love you!"
Like Dirty Harry said, a man's got to know his limitations, and I know mine, and I can't attract crowds like that. President Trump's the only political figure in my lifetime that could.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let's talk about Wisconsin for a second. First, we'll go national, and then we'll bring it down. So in 2020, Biden won by 20,000 seats. Wisconsin was the state with the goofy, what's the term where you didn't have to show an ID to vote like you always did? You were indefinitely confined.
No, we have voter ID. What happened in Wisconsin is election clerks, particularly Milwaukee, were able to cure absentee ballots. So an absentee ballot would normally just be rejected or sent back to the voter to be resubmitted. They cured those. That was illegal to do, but they allowed it to happen. Okay, they did balloting in the voting in the park illegal. They went into nursing homes. I'd say kind of violated people's rights from that standpoint. Zuckerbucks basically paid for and took over the Green Bay election system. So there were so many irregularities in Wisconsin. Again, it's hard to prove voter fraud when you have all these ballots. So what do you do with them? I mean, do you literally throw out 270,000 ballots? The Wisconsin Supreme Court said no. But there were so many irregularities that are being denied by the mainstream media, and that's what's galling. This is across the country. There are 80-some different court cases, and the mainstream media says those courts rejected their claim. No, most of them just didn't even look at the evidence. They just dismissed the case for a host of reasons. You know, there's moot, cloak of latches, wherever the hell that is. They never looked really at the evidence. So mainstream media now is able to say, you know, all these election deniers, you know, they've been disproven. No, nothing was really disproven, quite honestly.
You mentioned we have 215 days. Okay, we got 215 days to win this thing, and Wisconsin's going to be key to it. So, as you mentioned, really easy to get votes in Madison. Just knock on 1,000 doors in 5 seconds. What are Republicans going to do to get votes in Douglas County or wherever, Lincoln County, which still count as one, but it takes a lot more work to get it done? What's the game plan here? Because we can't just hope. We need it on the ground. We need it to work.
First of all, recognize that what has really ginned up and will continue to gin up Democrats is the issue on abortion. And again, you got the mainstream media. They won't point out the extreme position on abortion is the one from the Democrats who will allow abortion up to the moment of birth, and some won't even provide care to a live-born baby. Okay, that is the extreme position. I think President Trump recognizes that, and I'm not stealing his thunder at all. He announced it yesterday. He's going to be coming out with a statement on abortion to try and point out that the extreme position is with the Democrats and lay out what his position is. And again, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but he's going to make that announcement, I think, within the next week. Quite honestly, that was one of the things I was able to witness on the plane, watching he and his staff thoughtfully go through exactly how they should communicate what President Trump's position is and when they would do that. Again, it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch the process.